This video is intended for NEETs of the Hikikomori type. If you're a normal person, do not watch this video. It is not for you, nor do I want you watching any of my other videos or subscribing to my channel. I do not accommodate viewers who are not similar to me, and I do not ever intend to. Go away. Go back to scrolling TikTok, watching YouTube shorts, or whatever you vermin do to pass the time. Anyway, if you're a NEET and or a Hikikomori, like me, welcome. Get cozy, lounge by the fire. I have stories, wisdom to share. The Hiki commandments have been revealed to me. Lesson 1. You are worth nothing. You have no value to others, no value to your family, your friends, if one has any, and to society. No value at all. This isn't to say that you specifically have no value and that others do by virtue of possessing qualities that you don't. Rather, you're one of the few unfortunate individuals that have found themselves confronted with the reality that the notion of people having intrinsic value is non-existent. Or at least, it is not honored as a fundamental tenet in human society, nor is it a principle that underlies human nature. Your family has given up on you, or, if they have not, they will in the coming years. Further, they most likely never cared about you or your future at all. They may have even played a direct role in you becoming a NEET Hikikomori, either by not caring about your development as a person, by enabling your behavior and did not encourage or push you to grow and mature into a functional human being, or worse, they were actively malicious towards you, tormenting you throughout your upbringing, interfering with your development to where your only solace was to isolate yourself from the world and resign. To expand on the first point, if your family lets days pass, years even for some, then this is proof of how little you are worth to them. They see no potential in you, no ways in which you could be better. They don't want to see you succeed, and their lack of initiative to rehabilitate you substantiates this. They're okay with your misery. They see no issue in it. And don't be fooled by their words either. They can express their sympathy and concern, and even disapproval, but if there's no action taken to aid your situation, then it's sadistic gratification concealed as concern. You're a scapegoat, the black sheep they use to blame and offload their repressed hatred and dissatisfaction with their own life, even in the case of the sympathetic and compassionate types. This is the covert need you fulfill for them. That's it. And finally, you're worth nothing even to yourself. You're your own worst enemy. You betray yourself at every opportunity. Maybe not the you, but there's a sizable part of you that does not have your best interests in mind and proactively aims downwards. Taking action to make things better is too painful. It's easier to justify the misery if one is partaking in bringing it about and, on a semi-conscious level, revels in it. Abandoned and left to rot, sentenced to a life of isolation and not a single care from anyone. Indeed, you are worth nothing. There will be people who protest that this isn't true and exclaim that you have transcendent value, basic rights as a human. Those who say this are either contemptibly naive or are exercising what I call moral masturbation. Such posturing only serves to cloak themselves in virtue in an effort to fool others, although this facade is mainly just to fool themselves into believing that they're a good person. They use the weak and suffering for egoistic gratification. And also, if it were true, if humans really did have implicit value that is absolute, would things be this bad? Wouldn't you have gotten the help you needed by now if such a virtue was a moral law? Wouldn't its divine truth have power in reality? The answer is an emphatic no. And this goes beyond some random hikikomori rotting away in their room for 60 years only to be found many years after their death. Lesson 2. No one is coming to save you. And no one can help you for that matter. As previously discussed, no one cares about you. A cherished quote of mine that I got from my therapist that I also routinely repeat to myself. No one cares, mate. That's life. A therapist told me this, gentlemen, so it must be true. Truly, no one is going to help. Further, if someone does come along and that claims to care and wants to help you, there's always an ulterior motive, some way to get you to serve their goals, their means, to employ your labor and garner your support for their cause, their ideology, etc. People, groups, organizations that claim to want to help you, out of the goodness of their heart, instead of operating as a paid service, invariably have other plans and goals and want to use you to further that. To illustrate my point, I'll take religious youth groups and other not-for-profit mental health organizations as an example. Most, but not all, I'll be fair, of these groups are ideologically motivated. They want to mold you in a way that furthers their vision by indoctrinating you so you can adopt their values and belief system. Or, to put it in other words, to rehabilitate you insofar as you're useful to the system and the greater social machine without showing signs of distress, to quote my boy Kaczynski. Their help always consists of adopt this or that value, see it in this or that way, within this or that narrative. The reality is that no one can help you in a way that is beneficial to you as a person. When I say this, I mean real help, the type of help that facilitates movement and progress on your individual path in life. They don't offer such help. The only person who can do this is you. Only you know the intimate details of your particular circumstances and what decisions and direction you need to take. This is a reminder that nothing is free. There's a cost to everything and, most of the time, it's hidden. Haven't we learned anything from Welcome to the NHK from Misaki? Lesson 3. You are decaying by the day, by the hour, withering and hollowing out. Days spent idling, still and devoid of novel stimuli and cognitive challenge, leads to the eventual deterioration of your ability to function optimally as a human. If death was given a living form, I would assign it to the NEET, the Hikikomori, an undead specimen, a hollow, decaying shell was once a human. Cognitive functions like attention, short and long-term memory, and mental faculties such as language, reasoning, and problem-solving eventually wither away, leaving an early onset dementia patient. It is a proven fact that cognitive and social deprivation causes semi-irreversible brain damage. Solitary confinement is a prime example of this. Such a deprivation results in the loss of synapses and, as a consequence of this, eventually neuronal death. Cortical atrophy, aka brain rot, is not just some meme. It is a very real phenomenon when one is deprived of stimulation and novelty. And it can get worse too. This is the perfect environment to develop schizophrenia or an adjacent psychotic disorder. These psychiatric conditions principally require that the person has marked executive and cognitive dysfunction to where the higher cortical modules of the brain have atrophied to such a profound degree that they fail to inhibit its associative and perceptual subsystems, resulting in aberrant, pathological behavior and a total loss of systemic stability and coherence. The prodromal phase of schizophrenia is characterized by a gradual loss of cognitive functioning before one finally breaks from reality. One never spontaneously develops psychosis or neuroses of the like. A period of gradual and substantial cognitive decline always precedes it. If one has a psychotic predisposition, the chances that you will be sent to a psych ward for a good portion of your life, maybe even all, is quite high. Lesson 4. The longer you stay as a NEET Hikikomori, the harder it becomes to return back to society. Perhaps there's a point where one fully matures, let's say, into a Hikikomori, and this process may not even be conditionally dependent on how much time one has spent as one. This is what you become, and can no longer change as you've fully metamorphosized and used one's critical period of development. The developmental gap between you and your peers and the skills and knowledge needed to navigate the world will be so vast that even if a lifetime was committed to closing it, that still would not be enough to return to society. How does one even rehabilitate a Hikikomori that has been a recluse for more than 20 years? Prognosis. Kodokushi. I bet I butchered that pronunciation. It's the faces of pure contempt from strangers that get me. From the people who are integrated harmoniously into the system, they reflect back to me the only honest representation of my worth. By some sort of extrasensory perception inaccessible to me, they immediately sense that I'm subhuman and readily make sure every step I take to better myself and to integrate back into society is as difficult as possible. I did the due diligence of showing up to a job interview for the lowest possible, most menial position in society, requiring no skills or the competency to handle responsibility, and I'm still getting mocked, dismissed, and belittled. I'm unwanted even in positions where an employer is desperate to take anyone for a job that clearly no one wants. Lesson 5. Eventually, your soul evaporates. The experience of truly being alone and abandoned by the world, left to rot by people who supposedly care about you, by your fellow man, psychologically changes one on a deep level. Misery becomes your closest friend. After prolonged exposure to the sheer existential dread and the isolation, you adapt and achieve a sort of homeostasis. The relative weight of one's own suffering, the value and meaning of it, and morality itself ceases to mean anything. These concepts no longer have any affective influence. The cold and callous dismissal of one's suffering from the outside world is assimilated and is then integrated as the scaffolding that comprises one's moral schema. Whether or not this is a good thing is besides the point. It's going to happen. Shit just passes, you know? It's a state of being that I imagine the conscious experience of the elk is like while it's in the process of being mauled by a bear. Excruciating pain is present, but it doesn't mean anything. There's no conscious agent to assign meaning, a value. It's precisely what the soldier contends with on the front lines after having witnessed his comrades get obliterated by artillery, all the while knowing he himself has taken the lives of many men. Morality and value, these concepts dissipate entirely from one's phenomenological experience. How do you even go back after your soul has crossed the river of Styx? You don't. Lesson 6. Post-soul evaporation provides fertile substrate for malevolent spirits to inhabit. The vacant mind attracts conceptual beings that look to expand their psychic real estate. You've probably seen it by now. What happened to the others? The ones who aren't dead yet. Look at them. They've been relegated to soulless, one-dimensional automatons that regurgitate their chosen ideologies' axioms ad nauseum. They can hardly be called individuals anymore. Be wary of closed systems of belief that conceptualize the world in a narrow framework that outlines why you're suffering and lays the responsibility outside of you, especially ideologies that make a clear divide between who is good and who is evil. An obvious example of this would be incel, black pill ideology, very commonplace in the NEET Hikikomori space. A close second to this would be communism, blaming capitalism for one's NEET status. There's a very strong temptation to assimilate a framework that absolves your responsibility. These ideologies prey on the fact that you've given up and will readily relinquish your responsibility for yourself. For their seductive appeal is that surrendering of one's power and letting a greater social force, a collective abstract entity, do the thinking and valuing for you. It's the easy route. There's relief in having a system of ideas delineate why you're suffering, who you are, and how you fit into the world. It's especially insidious since all this victimizing and infantilizing of oneself that these ideologies usually pronounce breeds resentment and hatred like no other. But this inadvertently gives people a sense of meaning despite its toxicity. This is why their appeal is so alluring and why so many miserable people are the most vocal champions of any given ideology. It's a potent avenue for catharsis, and the act of voicing one's righteous outrage imbues one with an intoxicating sense of meaning. It gives one the sense that they're fighting the good fight, that they're undertaking a moral endeavor. Instead of drifting in a nihilistic limbo, an ideology lays down a railroad while one is very much inclined to take it. Life is far more painful knowing that you do indeed have the power to overcome one's seemingly insurmountable circumstances, yet continually fail to do so due to individual weakness and incompetency, or just due to its sheer difficulty. I won't lay one's circumstances entirely at the feet of the person. It's over. There's nothing I can do. See, this is why I am the way I am, and why I am suffering. It's just how the world is. It's my genetics. It's all women's fault. It's because of capitalism. It's because of leftist ideology. No, it's the alt-right's fault, etc., etc. You don't have ideas, ideas have people. Keep yourself safe from predatory belief systems looking to subordinate your will to its aims, as they are always destructive, especially for their followers. Lesson 7. Everything is illusory. Spending substantial time outside the walls of society, out of contact with the world, out in the fucking trenches, grants one a clarity of mind, insofar as one has retained some lucidity under such conditions. It's so hard not to see something as utterly hollow that is taken as a given in human society. Societal qualms, political upheaval, or just the current cultural zeitgeist all seem meaningless and vain in the grand scheme of things. How are these of any concern to me? Look, I don't care about Epstein and his nail file, or whatever, you know? And this goes further. Everything just seems like a cope. All philosophies and religions that contend with the problem of life, especially those that come to a definite conclusion on how to deal with its suffering, I have found, do not hold water at all. They're copes. Everything, in some form or another, is an illusory and transitory solution to suffering. Life is meaningless. There are no what if and could be, no yeah buts, no silver lining. Life is irrefutably meaningless, and this causes inescapable suffering. And considering this as a good thing does not in any way lead to relief from the suffering, it only does so temporarily. Doing so is an attempt to blind oneself. It's the dying wish for a philosophical opioid, a final attempt at an inversion of values. It only works if you've totally given up, for your conscious awareness has either evaporated or you're pharmacologically lobotomized through psychiatric intervention or illicit means. Though the latter two are more or less synonymous with each other. Not a new or revolutionary thought, but happiness and the pursuit of it isn't something that exists. This is a modern notion, an erroneous one at that, and it was not at all present throughout our evolutionary history hitherto. The pursuit and fixation of trying to be happy is evidence of our weakening as an organism. We are slowly becoming a life form incapable of life. How are we more ineffectual as a species than the noble ox, or even the humble snail? Weird examples, but all life forms except us seem quite content with the eternal unfolding process of life. With a blissful contentedness, they harmoniously exist and propagate, a serene and equanimous way of being that we will never experience. Moreover, from studying human history, this issue of the existential problem of life seems to be a recent development, and it was not characteristic of past epochs. So it cannot be because we develop consciousness and are cursed with the acute awareness of our mortality. Something is afoot. Something has gone horribly wrong with the evolution of our species. Lesson 8. There is no hope. Welcome to life. You're fucked both in life and on a cosmic scale. But I don't mean this as things won't improve for you, even by your own standards. Perhaps maybe you do become a respectable human, a productive member of society, perfectly at peace. What I do mean is that we're in an existential nightmare. Once you're tainted with the horrifying knowledge that reality is fundamentally malignant, nature is gratuitously cruel, humanity is the avatar that enacts her will, and that contemplating this vaporizes your consciousness, there's no going back. It's impossible to revert back to naive, idyllic conceptions of life. This is what I mean by there is no hope. You're fucked. I'm fucked. We're all fucked. Lesson 9. The Noose Beckons. Nothing needs to be said here. You know what I mean by this. Moving on. I don't want to get deleted off YouTube. And finally, Lesson 10. Nothing is definitive. A bit of a 180, but nothing is determined. Everything could perhaps change for you, and you find yourself in a place in life where you're flourishing and find peace. Picking from an example I know, we'll examine the author of Welcome to the NHK. He was a NEET Hikikomori when he wrote it, and stayed as one for another 15 years after the novel's publication. Let this sink in. Look guys, it's Tatsuhiko Takimoto, the man who wrote Welcome to the NHK. See, he's outside, he's talking to people, he's integrated into society, he has friends, he's made it bros, so maybe you can too. And that's it. I could have probably written a lot more if I thought about it longer. I've sort of lost my ability to think, so cut me some slack. Honestly, I don't know how it became a cringy, nihilistic diatribe about reality by the end, and not a lighthearted, goofy, and relatable NEET Hikikomori video to chill to as I originally intended. Moving on, my intention here is not to impart a specific evaluation of life or worldview. To me, these are neutral, detached observations obtained from my time spent as a Hikikomori NEET, and aren't meant to convey a moral judgment of the world, contrary to how much it may come off as such. To reiterate, these aren't reasons to resign from life, and I personally have not, in spite of all I have said here. Your boy ain't quitting, and I don't support such a stance as much as I hate life and reality. But this is your individual matter to deliberate on. Just know that I will be personally disappointed in you for giving up and not striving to make things better for yourself and the world. Anyway, fuck hope, fuck life, fuck humans, and fuck reality. Fuck everything, huh? But maybe not you, cause you watch this video, and that makes you cool. It's not all doom and gloom if you're here watching this video, right? The funniest part is that no one is going to watch this. Who am I even talking to anyway? I must be really bored making a video like this. Part 2 will be in 5 years. Stay tuned.